Every year, the March of Dimes analyzes the premature birth rates in this country. Important because preterm births, the largest contributor of infant death in the United States. And for the second year in a row, the rates have gone up. 9.8% in the United States for C grade. In Texas, it's 10.4% for D grade. And for the city of Houston, 10.8, also a grade of D. Here this morning to help sort out some of this, Heather Butscher, the maternal child health director for the March of Dimes Houston, and Regina Jones, a March of Dimes board member and the mother of 2 boys, one of them born weighing just 1 pound and 5 ounces. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Before I go much further, I want to let that sink in for just a moment. 1 pound and 5 ounces. When you were going through that process, when your son was being born, how afraid were you?
Very, because you just have no idea what the outcome is going to be. Your only concern as a mom is that you want your child to be healthy, and you would do anything in that moment to put yourself in their place. But it's unfortunate that you can't. So it's breathtakingly difficult. And
when you saw him, he was so small. That had to make you even more afraid.
Yes, it was. It was interesting because he was super tiny. He was so small that his skin was translucent, so you could see the color of his blood through his skin. Mm-hmm. And he was tiny. His eyes were still fused shut. So I remember one of my first concerns was that, oh my God, he's not going to open his eyes. It probably took 3 weeks before his eyes actually opened. The NICU told me that you've not met a person whose eyes didn't open, right? So right. Eventually they will as part of the development. But he developed outside of the womb as opposed to a normal child.
Heather, what do we know about what causes prematurity?
We have several contributing factors that we're aware of that we try to create interventions to help combat those. But there's a long list of those, and our research is still trying to identify if there is one cause that we could intervene with or if it is just that list.
I know over the years we thought, well, maybe it's socioeconomic, maybe it's a matter, and we found out that that doesn't really play that big of a role.
It doesn't really, and what we're finding more of too is with African American women, it doesn't play a role as well. They are just more likely to have a preterm birth, and we don't know the social and environmental or health factors that go into that reasoning.
What do you do, Regina, in your role as a board member and as a mom of boys now, and they're doing well.
Yes.
What do you do now in terms of advocating and telling people what they should do and how they should prepare for their lives of possible motherhood?
Right. So much of it is awareness. One of just the fact that preterm delivery is a real possibility for any mom. It doesn't matter. So you have to understand what are some of the symptoms of potential preterm birth. You have to know who the resources are and just know how to follow the preventative care process, if you will. Because awareness and education of the risk and the dangers and the warning signs is the most factor. And as a mom, I just do as much as I can to be an example of that and show that others can improve.
And part of that, the premature birth report card is part of that awareness thing. What do you hope people will get when they notice, okay, we're D, how do we get to, what do you hope will happen as a result of at least people knowing about that?
Yes, we hope this is a wake-up call because unfortunately, as you mentioned, the number has gone up nationwide the last 2 years. Harris County did improve, but we're still above the state average. And so we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of research to be done. We have a lot of education and awareness to be done. Locally, and we have great programs that try and intervene on some of the issues that we are aware of, but we're still doing that research and still doing that education.
Well, we fight, and the station does, our station supports the March for Babies every year, and we're happy to do that, and I'm a board member and have been chair of that march a while back. In fact, I remember I was taking pictures with you when your babies, and we should talk about your babies who are not those babies anymore. 1 pound, 5 ounce boy is growing up. This is him, he's a diver, huh?
Yes, he's a diver. He's 14. He plays basketball. He's lived in 3 countries, and he's just an amazing young boy. He's on the path to Eagle. He's a Boy Scout. He's a Life Scout.
And that's him with his brother Dylan?
Yes, yes. And Dylan, the same, was born premature. But because we took preventative steps, I was on bed rest for 5 months with our second son, Dylan. But he was only born 4 days early.
Okay, okay. And we think about the fact that Kevin was in NICU for almost 3 months?
Yes, he was in the NICU for 79 days.
And that's a long time. And we talk about these things because that also, Heather, is a example of the cost that's involved. I mean, there's a lot of cost, which also raises the awareness of how we should try to do more to make sure we don't run into those kind of stuff.
Yes, yes. These babies are a burden to our families. They're a burden to our healthcare system. And so all the more reason for us to make sure that moms are healthy preconception and take good care of themselves prenatally so that they can have that healthy birth.
What's the biggest takeaway you'd want viewers to get from our conversation this morning, do you think?
I would like for people to understand that interventions are out there, and the March of Dimes has created some great interventions starting at the NICU, but also going even farther back to prenatal and preconception care. We have group support available for women during their prenatal classes. We have prenatal support where they can learn more about how to prepare their home and prepare their budget to become a mom. And we have NICU family support available at the NICUs after the babies are born and they're struggling with that new tiny little baby, and they don't know what to do with them and don't know what to do with all the wires. So we have a lot of support out there, and just more research to come.
Regina?
Yes, and I would want, it's very similar to Heather's comment, but I would want moms to know that the March of Dimes is the only organization that focuses on prematurity, first of all. All the resources are there, even if it's just something as simple as looking at the website and reading about what are some of the risks and what are some of the resources available to you as a mom. That is the #1 prevention factor, is to have early intervention and awareness, because it can unfortunately happen to any woman.
Well, I will thank you, first of all, Heather and Regina, for coming in. I want to make sure that I'll put your contact information about the March of Dimes on the website here, and also information about the next March for Babies next year. It's going to be on our click2houston.com Newsmakers page. So thank you both for coming in.
Thank you, Kimberly.